Good evening, everyone. I'm back again, and I'm in a very good mood because having sold my entire private collection of Chinese later bronzes at Bonham's a couple of months ago, I am now back on the track and trying to buy some more. I can't resist. And I've just bought these two wonderful, this pair of Yuan period Chinese bronze vessels, which were probably made in the mid 13th century or the beginning of the 14th century. In other words, up to the Ming period. The Yuan period, for those of you who don't know, and by the way, I bought them from a very prominent veteran old dealer here in London who has a profound knowledge of this field and indeed many other fields. So he was kind enough to sell them to me at a price slightly more than I wanted to pay, but anyway, it happened. The Yuan period, the Yuan dynasty started, as I say, in the late 13th century. It was preceded by the Sung period, which was the most sophisticated and prosperous civilization probably on earth at the time, from the 10th century to the 13th century, beginning of the 13th century. And the Yuan invaded China under Kublai Khan, who became the emperor, set up his court in Beijing. This was where Marco Polo lived for some years, apparently. Well, that's what he said. And the Yuan society became very respectful, or was very respectful, of Chinese civilization on the one hand, and wanted to absorb it and contain it. On the other hand, they wanted to preserve something of their own fresh vision and muscularity. And that's exactly what happened. They created trade routes internationally, so there was a flow of goods and services and art coming into China, which hadn't come in before. So they learned from that. And one of the wonderful things that happened in the Yuan period was the development of blue and white porcelain, which of course everybody knows about and was exported all over the world for many hundreds of years. But another part of it was their interest in developing, tweaking, or modifying a little bit the styles from the previous dynasty, the Song period, and introducing their own freshness of vision. And they did this in many different ways. They did it with painting, they did it with porcelain, as I've just said, and they did it with lacquer and bamboo and bronzes. What did they bring into the bronze world? Well, these are very good examples of what they did. They retained some of the, or much of the interest in the ancient past of China, and some of the decoration hints at that. They, however, did something quite new, which was to create bronzes which were faceted, in other words, polygonal, and whereas the Sung bronzes were all round, their bodies were all round. Here, I mean, we were lucky to get these. It is a pair, which is very rare. They're in very, very good condition. After all, this is 700 years ago. They have these very well cast Taotie masks, the mythological animal masks here. The quality of the casting here is just fantastic, actually. They have their original ring handles, which is also something that disappears very often through wear. So they're of beautiful condition and extremely elegant, and I'm thrilled to buy them. And what they do for me is what they did for the literati, those gentlemen scholars who, during the Yuan period, tended to withdraw to the countryside because they didn't retain their status anymore under their status, their political status, which they had under the Sung. And they lost that with the Yuan. The top officials in the Yuan dynasty were from the Yuan people. And so the scholar gentlemen tended to retire to their country estates or their country houses, and these would have been either in a little private shrine with flowers in the center, or more likely, or in their private studios where they would be with their flowers and would provide a link for the scholar with China's ancient past, which was so important for him. And again, they show the scholar's taste, which was so unostentatious. And for me, these are so intimate as works of art, and I love them very much. And unfortunately, I'm going to probably become obsessed as I was before, because when I sold my collection of private bronzes the other day, I'd had them for 30 or 40 years, some of them, and I really loved them, and it was a very painful experience. So that's it for now. God bless you all. Bye-bye.